This is TWiT.
All right. My second story of the week is a rather concerning report from Reuters talking about Tesla. So Tesla vehicles have, and I know we'll be talking about Tesla soon. Tesla vehicles have cameras on them. And part of the reason that they have cameras on them is to help with the self-driving functionality, with some of the sort of lane detection, avoidance detection, all of the magical stuff that's supposed to make your car driving experience a lot safer and just to help you become more aware of what's around you. And as the Reuters article points out, Tesla has long talked about how the privacy of its users is very important, and that the cameras in the vehicles are, quote, designed from the ground up to protect your privacy. However, according to Reuters, who spoke with, they say nine former employees of Tesla, between the years 2019 and 2022, there were groups of Tesla employees who shared videos and images recorded by the Tesla vehicles, the cameras on the Tesla vehicles of some customers, and they would share these on an internal messaging system. So along with sharing some photos, some videos, they would share crashes, road rage incidents. Reuters says that there was one recording that involved video of a man approaching a vehicle completely naked. In some cases, the videos or photos were of people's interiors. So once the car was parked in the garage, then those images and videos were there. They would take these images, these videos, and sort of make them into memes, add captions to them, share them around internally. And while Tesla vehicles no longer do this, there was a point where you could opt in to having the cameras basically running at most times, even whenever the car was turned off, so that the whole point was your car would kind of be watched even when you weren't around it, and just to make sure that it wasn't being broken into, or if it was broken into, then you'd have that evidence. That is no longer a feature, but when it was, Reuters said some of the video appears to have come from times when the car was turned off and that feature was enabled. There was one really interesting story that is part of this piece. And I'm going to read a little bit from the article because I think it's the best way to summarize it. Quote, about 3 years ago. Oh, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Oh, no, I was saying, okay, go ahead.
Oh, cool. So, quote, about 3 years ago, some employees stumbled upon and shared a video of a unique submersible vehicle parked inside a garage, according to two people who viewed it. The vehicle was nicknamed Wet Nelly. The submersible, rather, was nicknamed Wet Nelly, the White Lotus Esprit sub that had been featured in the 1977 James Bond film, The Spy Who Loved Me. There's one person who, as far as we know, had purchased for about $968,000 this unique submersible vehicle and who owned it. That person was Elon Musk. So employees viewed the footage of Elon Musk's own Tesla to see into Elon Musk's garage, to capture this image and to share it in internal messaging, in the internal messaging system. And as Reuters points out, it's not clear whether Musk was even aware of the video or that it had been shared with people.
The first argument some people would say was, how do we know that was his car? You just tapped into some random camera in the database. You don't know that was Musk's car. Well, stuff like that is personal identifiable information right there, and could clearly just start to connect the dots. Everybody's not going to own a $968,000 car. There is a record of who does own a $968,000 car. Wow.
And that was the other thing too. In many cases, they didn't have the Tesla said that even in the before times, whenever they were recording this video regularly, and even to this day, if the video that is being captured is shared with the system that kind of tags these videos to figure it out, Tesla says that it's separated and anonymized so that they don't know who the video or the photos are coming from. However, there were two things that these previous employees pointed out. One, in some cases, the video and the photos, while it didn't have people's names or like their Tesla account or anything like that, it did have location information. And so that can be enough to narrow in on a person. And then because there were distinct items like this submersible, then that also could point to a specific person. So it wasn't entirely the case that they didn't, or that the information was completely anonymous. But I think kind of the bigger conversation here talks about how much of these videos, these photos, it used to be that they would send a lot of this information off to human beings in Africa. They employed, we've even talked on this show before about how companies will hire out to different countries the process of tagging data for an artificial intelligence engine and to help it better understand this is a person, this is an ice cream cone, this is a horrible thing.
Was this part of the terms of services once you purchase a car that says, you know what, well, you're going to analyze some data that's coming from your car? Do you opt in? I've asked a similar question about purchasing a Tesla when it came to full self-driving or FSD or whatever it's called. There had to be something in the contract regarding what you're signing up for. And I wonder if the customers even knew what they were signing up for, because there's no way they just willy-nilly doing this. They had to have this on the contract and figuring they can cover themselves from the court of law if someone says.
Yeah, and that's the thing,
right?
Is the images, the videos were that were supposed to be sent over for the sake of tagging. And again, I say sent over because Tesla in 2016 had employees who would label those images for pedestrian street signs, et cetera. They would have access to all of this stuff, and then they would view and identify the objects. But over time, Tesla has started to automate the process. So they ended up closing down a lot of those sort of hubs where they were doing this. And despite that, there are other folks who still do work for Tesla, specifically doing that labeling. But I want to quote again from the Reuters piece. Two ex-employees said they weren't bothered by the sharing of images, saying that customers had given their consent. There you go. Or that people long ago had given up any reasonable expectation of keeping personal data private. Three others, however, said they were troubled by it. So one was saying, I don't care because we all know that nothing that's out there is private. And then there were some who said, well, they opted into having this information analyzed. Sure, they opted into having the image analyzed, the video analyzed, but analyzed does not include turning it into memes that you share amongst friends to have a laugh about. Yes, no one, I feel, reasonably expects that that's going to be part of analysis.
Yeah. So, you can have it shared on your internal network amongst your colleagues and have a laugh about it. But there is going to be one. There's always one that's going to put that thumb drive in. Let me have this for a copy for myself and put it on my social media. You know that's happening. Oh God.
And I think that this is where the conversation surrounding sort of spirit of the law versus letter of the law comes into place a lot, because any human being is, even when they consent to, again, having their data analyzed, is not expecting that this means that my nude body that walks in front of a Tesla camera is going to be laughed at in a private group. You may learn that and go, oh, I probably should have expected that. But you don't, hearing those words analyzed and tagged for metadata, blah, 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 that's not the same thing as,
Right.
again, it made fun of. So I think that ultimately this is an opportunity. This Reuters report is an opportunity for folks to once again sort of recalibrate their expectations for how we should consider our online privacy, and in particular consider the cameras we have around us, the sensing technology we have around us, all of what's involved with that.
Yeah, indeed. Now, Mr. Sam Abuelsamid was going to join us momentarily to talk a little bit about some cars, but your story is quite fascinating. You think we can have him chime in regarding your story today?
Yeah, Sam, if you've got some thoughts that you want to share about this, I'm curious to hear, firstly, if you are at all surprised that this is going on. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about how those cameras are meant to work in a Tesla, and how maybe the use of it to spy on people's garages and even in some cases show video of children being hit by cars is not what folks signed up for.
Hey, Mikah and Ant, good to be with you again. Yeah, I joined joined the Zoom in the middle of the conversation and pulled up the story you're talking about. To be honest, unfortunately, I'm not at all surprised that this is happening. I mean, it's happened before. It happened, I think, with Ring a few years back. Ring employees somewhere in Eastern Europe that were doing similar thing. They were tasked with doing labeling and annotation of video data from Ring security cameras, the doorbell cameras. They were sharing some of the video content that was being captured by these cameras. So in this particular instance, first to what you were saying earlier about whether customers agreed to this, I haven't read the full terms and conditions of the Tesla connectivity agreement, but in general, I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that when you agree to have connectivity in your vehicle, as part of that agreement, you are agreeing to share some of that data with the manufacturer, and they use it for. Most manufacturers use it primarily for product development to understand how.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They're trying to make it better down the road, right?
Exactly, and so it's imperative on the manufacturers to have some controls in place to make sure that anybody that within the company or within their contractors that has access to this data isn't misusing it. Now, to the specifics of this particular, of what's going on with Tesla, Tesla's got kind of an unusual situation because in most cases, for most manufacturers, most new cars have at least some cameras mounted on them for their driver assist systems. Every new vehicle built since I think 2016 has a rear backup camera. Most vehicles have forward-facing cameras. Many of them have surround view cameras that when you put the car in reverse or you maneuver around at low speeds, you can get that bird's eye view so you can see what's around you. And that's really handy features to have. In almost all cases, as soon as you turn off the car, all those cameras turn off, the computers turn off, all that stuff turns off, and so nothing can be recorded. It sounds like from reading the Reuters story about this, which I'm assuming is probably the one you're referencing, or maybe another one, that what was happening here is the employees are looking at data that was captured from Tesla's Sentry mode. Tesla offers this additional mode called Sentry, which is basically a surround view security camera system for their vehicles, an anti-theft or anti-vandalism thing. So when you turn on Sentry mode, your cameras, the 8 cameras that are around the car are on all the time and recording. I think there's a buffer, so it's like other security cameras. So they're not capturing all the data all the time because they don't have enough storage space. But they're looking for things that anything that might be a security issue. If somebody seems like they might be trying to break into the car or vandalizing the car, then it will record some amount of video, from the ring buffer. And, I'm guessing that the individual who was captured walking around naked probably had their sentry mode turned on in their Tesla and walked through the garage, hopefully walking through the garage. You never know. I mean, depending where they are.
Exactly.
If you've got a fairly private, property and driveway, who knows? That's up to individuals. But at any rate, they probably had their sentry mode turned on, and it captured them in proximity of the vehicle, and then uploaded that data to Tesla's servers. And then, labelers saw that, and then that's where the problem started with abusing the data. So yeah, Tesla, like other companies, particularly for Tesla, they capture, a lot of short snippets of video that they, are nominally using to improve their autopilot and full self-driving software. When they find scenarios that the system is struggling with, it's capturing, a few seconds of data and uploading that. And then the labelers go through. And as you mentioned, Mikah, they've gone to more and more automation of that labeling process. But even with automated labeling, there still has to be, for at least a significant portion of it, somebody going through and doing quality assurance checks to make sure that the automated labeling is being done correctly. So in many cases, even when it's automatically labeled, there's still going to be humans looking at it. And eventually, at some point in the chain, there are going to be engineers that are going to be looking at those video clips to decide, okay, is this something that is actually relevant for us to add to our test suite, to our simulation suite? And so there, even with automation, there's still humans that can see this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This episode of Tech Break is brought to you by ACI Learning. Audit, IT, and cybersecurity skills become outdated in about 18 months. If you run an IT, cybersecurity, or audit department, or lead a learning and development group, ACI Learning can craft an effective, affordable training solution to keep your team future-proof. Visit go.acilearning.com/twit to elevate your talent.